You are Locked On Tigers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, this winning thing is pretty fun. They make it 5 in a row for the Detroit Tigers. A victory over the Angels tonight after a lengthy rain delay. Welcome into a live Locked On Tigers postcast. Man, we've got a lot to discuss. I am your host, Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma, and 12-3 in their last 15 games. Who are these Detroit Tigers? Oh, baby, it's a lot of fun. Welcome in to a live Locked On Tigers postcast. And as always, we thank you for making Locked On Sports Detroit your post-game destination. And like I said, it's a lot more fun when your team is winning like the Tigers have done their last 5 games and 12 of their last 15. But as a reminder, we are Locked On Sports Detroit, your post-game destination for all things Detroit, with a Locked On postcast tonight. It's a Locked On Tigers postcast. And oh yeah, Saturday, we're going to have the first ever Locked On Wolverines postcast after the Michigan game. Be sure to join us for that. And of course, after the first Lions game, we'll have a Locked On Lions postcast. Preseason is in the rear view, and now it's time to look ahead. All kinds of fun things going on Locked On Sports Detroit. That's why you subscribe. That's why you make it your first listen every day, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, on YouTube, it's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And today's Locked On Tigers postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. And how about this for an exciting announcement? Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a free week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. That's right. It's a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And where do we begin with this one? I think you have to talk about the rain delay, because my goodness, I kept checking the watch saying, listen, it's going to be a late post-game show if we get this game in. Can we please get this game started? And admittedly, I was running my mouth on Twitter, or whatever it is. I guess would be running my Twitter fingers and saying, just call the game already. Play a doubleheader tomorrow. And I've been in those situations before in the clubhouse where, I can remember a Sunday where I waited around for 6 hours and just waiting for the game to start, and it never did. And lo and behold, you chalk it up to a wasted Sunday. But we didn't have that tonight. Those that stuck around enjoyed a nice power display from the Detroit Tigers. 3 home runs, a couple of bombs was to straightaway center field, Jake Rogers and Riley Greene, and then Kerry Carpenter with a towering fly ball. Jason Benetti described it as a satellite, because that's what Kerry Carpenter does, and you chalk it up to a 6-2 win over the Angels to get above 500. How about that? The Detroit Tigers above 500, 67 and 66. And when you win 12 of your last 15, that's a good way to get above 500. Now, you see it on the marquee, you see it on the graphic there. We're going to get to some wild card talk at the end of the program, because I think this team has earned it. We're not going to get too excited, but we are going to at least take a peek at the standings with the Tigers' remaining schedule and have a little discussion there. But we talk about the way this team responded, and I wasn't really sure what to expect with the rain delay and with Brant Hurter making technically, something he doesn't always do. He's been in those long relief situations before, but making the start tonight a little bit different of a routine. And when you throw in the wrench of the rain delay, it clearly impacted him with the way he came out a little bit flat in that first inning, gave up a couple of extra base hits, and before you knew it, the Tigers were in a 1-0 hole. But credit to Hurter for really turning it around to get his second win of the season. He goes 5 innings, allows 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Through 80 pitches, 55 of them were for strikes. And again, we always talk about attacking the batter in that first pitch strikes. And for Hurter, it was 17 of 21 first pitch strikes tonight. So he was getting ahead of hitters. He was attacking the zone. And again, after some of that, some kind of hitting a rough patch in that first inning early in the game, he settled in nicely. And speaking of pitching, my goodness, Hanifee. Wow, what a game for Brenan Hanifee. I made sure I put note of this in the rundown for today. 8 up, 8 down, and that's the type of long relief that is going to help you win a lot of ball games. And I know the Tigers are benefiting from kind of a weaker point in the schedule, obviously with the White Sox, the worst team in baseball, and then the Angels, who are nearly, they are over 20 games under 500. So obviously a team that really, really struggles. And you got to win these games, and that's what the Tigers did. They went out and they found a way. And even though, you look at this victory as a whole, and it's going to, be 5 in a row, 12 out of 15, I think tonight you really saw what this young core is capable of. And that seems like we were able to say that over and over again. Now, there were some very concerning parts of the ball game. I mean, Spencer Torkelson trying to catch a fly ball. I mean, you or I had a better chance of catching that ball, and Vierling's got to be, has to call him off in that. And those are fundamental baseball plays that I just don't understand why those mistakes keep happening. And, sooner or later, it is going to cost the Tigers in a situation where all of a sudden you give a free pass and a guy ends up on second and he comes around to score, and that's the difference in a game. But fortunately, it did not cost tonight because, like I said, the power surge was there. The settling in from Hurter, Hanifee in relief. Shelby Miller was good until he wasn't there at the end because it did take a little bit longer in the 9th inning than maybe you wanted. But Foley comes in to get the 1-out save, his 18th save of the season. But all in all, I mean, when you talk about what you had high hopes for with this team, continuing the momentum, even in a little bit of a difficult situation to play a late game last night against the White Sox, fly home, and then get a little bit of a late start at it tonight after the rain delay, this Tigers team went out and executed and got it done to get above 500, which is what you absolutely love to see. So welcome into a live Locked On Tigers postcast. If you're just joining us, this is Locked On Sports Detroit, your post-game destination for all things Detroit, all things postcast. I want to get to the comments for everybody that stayed awake long enough to join us on our stream here on Locked On Sports Detroit, but we'll be here after every game. That's what makes it fun. That's what makes subscribing worth it. Doesn't cost you anything, and that is why you subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit. But let's hear those comments, because that's what another part of all this. It's all about the listener and viewer interaction, a collaborative environment. Let your voice be heard. We're glad to have that platform to be able to do so. Born Cool says, you imagine if we played every game after 8 p.m., we'd win over 100. I love this team. Yeah, winning, it does that to you. It's easy to start loving this team when they play up to their caliber and up to what they're capable of doing. And that's an example of what we've seen in the last week. Zingdad, I love this team's talent. Belief amp. There we go. I love it, Zingdad. Dennis says, go Tigers. Gareth Ridings, a great game by the Tigers. Absolutely. Zindad adds, love this team's confidence right now. Give me back Mize and Olsen and call up Job, and you may just have things very interesting down the stretch. Yeah, we're going to talk about that at the conclusion of the program tonight, because I agree. And I wasn't there really until tonight, even after the game against the White Sox. And it's hard not to do this with the 162 game schedule. And it's easy to sway up, down, left, right after one game. And I try to stay, who am I kidding? I don't try to stay even keeled, but now, 4 games to sweep the White Sox for 4 games. Yes, it's nice. It's what you should have done, but it doesn't exactly say, hey, we're going to the playoffs. Whereas you start to take a larger sample size and look back. I mean, 12 out of 15 is 12 out of 15. And that includes 2 out of 3 against the Yankees and a series sweep against the Mariners, albeit the scuffling Mariners. But those are 2 teams that are ahead of you. The Mariners and Red Sox are the 2 teams you're chasing in the wild card. And the Red Sox are going to come to town this weekend. So we're going to know a lot in the next week as it relates to our Detroit Tigers, which, again, buckle up. It's going to be a fun ride. And I think we've earned this. We deserve this as Tigers fans. A couple more comments here. Demetrius McNeil, 5 wins in a row for the Tigers. Yes. Meanwhile, the Guardians saw their 9-game lead disappear just like that and now tie with the Royals. Is Cleveland in deep trouble? It's a good point. And they talked about this on the broadcast that nobody expected the Royals to catch the Cleveland Guardians. And not only have they caught them, but they've caught them in August. I mean, there's still a whole month to see how this all plays out. And we've seen how much things can change in a short amount of time as it relates to just our own division. Look at the AL Central, and nobody's talking about the Twins, and maybe people will start talking about the Tigers. Again, I honestly wasn't even here until tonight, and I've got the text messages to prove it. I think some of the people are on the stream right now that I like texting with that said, yeah, I don't know, maybe can we start talking about wild card standings? I said, no, not quite yet, but here we are, 12-3 in their last 15, and all of a sudden 5.5 back in the wild card. And you got 3 against the Red Sox this weekend, which is one of the teams that you're chasing. So fun times ahead as the Tigers win this one to get it started, and a chance to get another series win with a victory tomorrow against the Angels as they take the opener 6-2. We're going to continue breaking this one down and take a deeper dive at the look at the AL wildcard standings as we continue on with Locked On Tigers postcast, all part of Locked On Sports Detroit. Back in a moment. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Tigers postcast is brought to you by Supply House. That's right, Supply House lets you get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products all online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product information to help you get the job done right. You can shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Love that delivery. Just like Jake Rogers delivered that game-tying home run. How about that? And we're talking coast to coast delivery. And if you need help with an order, get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. I love that. You got to talk to the real person every time. None of that automated recording garbage. That's right. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. So join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM. And order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. All right, we've got some people joining the stream later, which I appreciate, but we're here every single game. Post-game, it's a Locked On Tigers postcast, all part of Locked On Sports Detroit. I am your host, Jake Rietma, formerly with 97.1 The Ticket, the old flagship, now with Locked On Sports Detroit. Couldn't be more excited to be launching Locked On Sports Detroit. And yeah, we've been here for most of the season. We started back in mid-April, and we've been going strong, but we're picking up some momentum just as the Tigers are picking up some momentum with 5 straight wins and 12 of their last 15. All right, let's get back to a few comments because I love hearing from each and every one tuning in to the Locked On Tigers postcast. So we go to my guy, Rufus El Gato de Baseball. Man, the fans in the stadium looked like they were having a ball. The chatter was loud and proud the whole game. It's only 8:58 here in Cali. I think I'll watch some TV and go to bed. All right. Thank you, Rufus, for the update. Yes, after the lengthy rain delay, and Benetti talked about this, hey, maybe it's your last summer, your last time for a summer shebang with the fam or with the friends and so on and so forth. So make the most of it and wait out that rain delay and enjoy some Tigers baseball. And that's exactly what the majority of the fans did. And yeah, you could hear it. It was palpable. That's for sure. Zingdad said quickly, 2 things to consider. Tigers, second best record in AL since July 1st and third easiest schedule in the majors the rest of the way. Yes, I made note of that in the broadcast as well when Benetti was talking about it. You still got 6 against Baltimore. You still got some tough road games. That's for for sure. San Diego coming up on the road, that's a team competing for a playoff spot. And so you don't want to do too much schedule watching, but if you just take the opponent winning percentage, yes, it's the third easiest schedule remaining in baseball, which is obviously, it's still up to the Tigers to go out and execute and win those games, but it's part of the conversation to be had with what's at stake as far as the potential to get back into that wild card discussion. So a lot of fans at the game tonight that waited out that rain delay, and that includes my grandparents, Mary Jo Isaacson. We went to the game. It was great. They're all playing very good. Fun watching them win. That's for sure. I know my grandma's a huge Kerry Carpenter fan and was probably going crazy when he hit that long towering home run. And I believe for Kerry Carpenter, that would have been his 13th home run of the season. Indeed, it was. So 13th home run of the season for Kerry Carpenter, 19th for Riley Greene, and 10th for Jake Rogers. And hey, let's continue to give kudos to Parker Meadows. He had that triple in the in his fifth triple of the season that helped get the scoring started for the Tigers in that fourth inning. And I got to say, it was pretty generous scoring to call that a triple. And you know what? Sometimes baseball, I've been an official scorer before. I know I've talked about that. And I've been an official scorer, and it's hard to always please the crowd with what you rule, but I felt like that fly ball to left should have definitely been caught by the Angels, and Parker Meadows benefited from it. And I thought the RBI single up the middle by I believe that was by Vierling. No, that was Kerry Carpenter. My apologies. Could have also been ruled an error, and that wasn't the case. But and then Vierling's double was stretched into a triple with the error there by the Angels. So I don't think the Angels necessarily played too stellar defensively, but the Tigers will take it. And the scorebook and the box score, as I'm saying, doesn't necessarily reflect how bad the Angels were defensively tonight, in my humble opinion, from a former official score. There we go. All right. Love having everybody tuned in to the Locked On Tigers postcast. As always, we thank you for making us your first listen following the conclusion of every single game. But hey, don't forget, for your second listen, you got to check out the Locked On MLB podcast, where host Paul Sullivan, aka Sully, is here to provide national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the MLB playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB. Available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. It's all part of the podcast, Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. You're gonna love it. Make sure you check it out. All right, we'll tie a bow on this one with some much anticipated wild card standings discussion. That's right. Had the Detroit Tigers played themselves back into the conversation of an unforeseen postseason berth? We will discuss coming up next on Locked On Tigers Postcast. This episode of the Locked On Tigers postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. That's right. FanDuel is changing the game, just like they always do, because they are America's #1 sportsbook. And you've heard us talk about FanDuel a lot. America's #1 sportsbook. And we've got something a little different for you. Now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers, that's right, let me repeat that, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. That's right. With the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every single regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. That's right, FanDuel.com. Live odds always available, and it all happens at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Don't forget, America's #1 sportsbook is FanDuel. Final segment of the program as we continue to recap the 5th consecutive victory for the Detroit Tigers, 6-2 winners over the Los Angeles Angels, and make it 12 of their last 15. You can't make it up because this Detroit Tigers team, just when you thought they were dead, my goodness, 12 in their last 15, and they have climbed all the way to 5.5 back in that wild card race. And don't look now, but they're just a half game back from the Seattle Mariners and a game and a half back from the Boston Red Sox, who, that's right, come to Comerica Park for 3 games following the conclusion of this series against the Angels. So we talked about that Tiger schedule, that remaining schedule. And you know what? I'm going to say it. We can do this as fans. I don't think these are the conversations AJ Hinch is having with his team by any means, because it's one game at a time. Just go win the next game, go win series, stockpile victories. That's always the message. And with a win tomorrow, you win another series. But for us, let's look ahead, because the Red Sox come to town for 3. Then you go on the road against the Padres, who, again, are competing for a National League postseason berth. I believe if the playoffs started right now, the Padres, yes, they are firmly in a wild card spot, 3 games up on the Braves, 3.5 up on the Mets, and chasing the Dodgers. So how far back are they from the Dodgers? It looks like 4 games back from the Dodgers. So that being said, the Padres going for a National League postseason berth. So that's no easy walk in the park as far as the remaining schedule for the Tigers. You got to take care of business against the lowly Athletics. And, I know it's going to be emotional playing at the Coliseum for the final time on Sunday, September 8th. That's a 4:00 start. But then take care of business against the Rockies, another bottom feeder of the National League. 3 against the Orioles. Orioles, very good team in a playoff position right now. 3 against the Royals. Very good team, obviously gunning for that AL Central title. 3 more again with the Orioles. And then you've got the Rays and White Sox to close it out. Obviously, the Rays sold at the deadline, and they're not much different than the Tigers in terms of overall record. You look at where the Rays are right now, the Tigers are only a game better than them. They're 65-66, and the Tigers are 67-66. And so that's no walk in the park either. And then the White Sox, I don't think you're supposed to say it's a guaranteed win playing a team in Major League Baseball, but the White Sox are about as close to that as I think you can get. But anyways, that being said, I'm excited to see how this continues to play out, because the Tigers, make no mistake about it, have played themselves into this position to be able to start looking at the out-of-town scoreboard, to start looking at the AL wildcard standings. And I honestly did not expect this to be a conversation we were having on August 27th. That's the God-honest truth. Hand up. I certainly didn't give up on this team. I was intrigued by what the last 2 months would look like in August and September following the moves that were made at the deadline. And we all agreed they were moves that needed to be made. And, you got the prospects back, and we're seeing one of them in Sweeney at shortstop. Lorenzo's been doing his thing down in the minors, and as we continue to evaluate who is a part of this Tigers future, now all of a sudden they're stockpiling wins. So it's one of those win-win situations where you're winning games and you're finding out what you have, and guys are making statements. The Parker Meadows, the Colt Keefs, and so on and so forth. Their continued elevated level of play certainly makes you excited to be a Tigers fan. And, the Torque one, that's just, that's a curveball, because again, he makes a boneheaded error again tonight. It's 0 for 3 night with 3 strikeouts. So a tough night for Spencer Torkelson. And when you win, it covers up some of those. But again, in the individual evaluation of what this team should consist of moving forward, tonight's a night you circle on the calendar and you look back for Spencer Torkelson, and it was a tough night. All right. That being said, appreciate everybody tuning in to tonight's Locked On Tigers postcast. We've got some people still commenting in. Let's go. I just left the game. There you go. What a game it was. And yeah, I mean, a little bit of a rain delay, that's all right, but a 6-2 win over the Angels to get above 500 which is awesome stuff. Let's rock this, boys and gals. Good night. All right, good night, still I rise. There we go. Because that being said, I love the direction of this team so far in these later games and into the month of August. We've loved what we've seen. We've been one of the best teams in baseball since July 1st. And that's playing these young kids, that's playing in some senses, I saw the funny memes and comparisons when playing the Yankees on that Sunday night game in Williamsport, that this was a AA team essentially that was elevated to a big league level. And all of a sudden they are hot at the right moment and playing a very, very confident brand of baseball, which makes it fun, which makes it a lot of fun. So appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. And don't forget to check out the Locked On MLB podcast to get ready for the MLB playoffs. And who knows, maybe the Tigers are a part of those MLB playoffs discussion, but you can find it on the Locked On MLB page. Host Paul Sullivan, aka Sully, here to provide national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the MLB playoffs. In the dog days of summer, it's available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Don't forget to check out Locked On Tigers with Scott Bentley as he continues to cover the team day in and day out on the Locked On Tigers page. That's where the audio version of this show will go on Locked On Tigers. And hey, you look at the starters for tomorrow, and maybe this thing is working out very well for the Tigers because they're going to go with an opener again tomorrow. It will be Mason Englert, who will take his 5.95 ERA and 1-0 record against Griffin Canning. 6:40 start, and then the day game to wrap it up with Cater Montero and Tigers chance to go for another series win tomorrow against the Angels. So that's going to do it for me tonight. Always a pleasure to be on the air with you for Locked On Sports Detroit. Don't forget about our Locked On Wolverines postcast following their first game on Saturday. It's a late one. It's a night game against Fresno State, but we'll be on the air on Locked On Sports Detroit, all part of the POSTCAST initiative from Locked On Sports. That includes the Locked On Tigers postcast, Locked On Lions postcast, Locked On Wolverines postcast, and Locked On Pistons postcast. So lots of fun as always. What a fun time of year too. We got meaningful baseball in the month of August and into September. We've got the college football season started, the NFL preseason in the books, and now we can look ahead to the regular season. It is all going to be fantastic, and I can't wait to be a part of it. So make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit. Like today's video if you haven't yet, and you know what? We appreciate each and every little metric that you make for the YouTube scoreboard, the likes, the shares, the subscribing, all that good stuff. Doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us out a great deal. So have a wonderful night. And hey, no technical difficulties tonight. If you were with us last night, apologies for that, but we move forward. We're getting better. There we go. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Tigers beat the Angels 6-2 tonight. The win goes to Brant Hurter. That's right. Brant Hurter gets his second win of the season. Jason Foley gets the save. 3 home runs, one from Jake Rogers, one from Riley Greene, and one from Kerry Carpenter, all amassing to a 6-2 win over the Angels. We'll see you tomorrow at the conclusion of Tigers Angels as the Tigers go for their 6th straight win. Until then, have a wonderful evening. We'll see you next time on Locked On Sports Detroit.